They went back and they interviewed like the original kids who waited online, the original cops who were arresting kids.
What's going on, guys? It's Picsoleated, and today we are going to an event. I got invited to this event with Jeff Staple and Miller Genuine Draft. Yes, it's the beer company, but they have launched a creative hub and they've appointed Jeff Staple to lead their collaboration, to open it up and to introduce it to the world. So let's pause for a quick moment. If you're a sneakerhead and you have been a sneakerhead for a while, you'll know who Jeff Staple is, but for anyone new to the game, a quick intro. Jeff Staple is a pioneer and probably one of the first few to purposefully drive street culture into the mainstream and bring it in front of bigger audiences. Known for, but not just limited to, designing the OG Pigeon dunk, even though it wasn't his first shoe, was the first shoe of his that really brought more attention to sneaker culture. Today we have two events. The first event is a meetup discussion panel with Jeff Staple, and I get to ask him questions and I get to meet him, so that's kind of cool. The second event is going to be tonight. It's going to be a launch party for the clothing. It's a clothing company. It's clothing is what it is. I'll explain this better later on, but right now I'm headed to this discussion panel with Jeff Staple and we're gonna see exactly how it goes.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Out and meet Jeff Staple, which I know is an awesome opportunity. We'll let Jeff obviously dive into what MGD Design Lab's all about, and I know you'll have questions about, you know, his past, his future, his collaborations. And
then in 2001, I opened what some say is like the first streetwear store ever, called Reed Space. One of the first sort of like multicultural, multi-lifestyle, like all different sort of genres incorporated into one physical space.
From here on in, we had a roundtable discussion with Jeff Staple about his past, present work, collaborations, and just everything from streetwear to branding to streetwear culture. It was an amazing opportunity for us to be able to pick his brain and just have a conversation with a sneaker and streetwear icon. But honestly, the angle I shot at wasn't the best and the audio was a little spotty. It was informative and insightful though, so if you want to see it, let me know in the comments and I'll release it as a separate video. But right after this, I had the opportunity to have a one-on-one with Jeff, so I'm gonna skip to that right now. So we're inside Goldie. This is my little vlog segment. This is where the event was. And got Jonathan Kim right here. And I'm Jonathan Kim on Instagram.
Joe's in your black.
From Mike Sunday's podcast for me. Or Mike Sunday's video.
Oh yeah, the Double Box podcast with H to the Bed and Bediones. Yeah, look for that.
There you go. Check it out. Look at this. Is this for the meetup, like for the one-on-one?
Yeah.
Look at this equipment.
very different style.
Yeah, Toronto.
With a camera and a tiny little mic on it. Yes, sir.
Water or anything, Jeff? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we're here in Goldie in Toronto with the one and only.
What up? I like that arm movement, man.
Not the smoothest, but
Yeah, man. How you doing?
good. How are you?
Good. What up?
So, Ani, how are you? How's your
Chilling.
experience in Toronto so far?
So far, so good. We just finished up that dope roundtable.
Yeah.
I'm excited to now talk to you one-on-one.
Sweet.
What are we talking about today?
So I didn't know we were gonna do this one-on-one because
Okay.
I just found out that we can.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of just gonna be like a conversation, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So my audience is pretty much like sneakers.
Yep,
you know, they're
I
into
see you rocking
sneakers.
the ties already.
Yeah. Sneakers.
How did
a
you
little
get
bit of
them? I want
fashion.
to know.
I bit the bullet.
Resell.
And I paid resale. Yeah.
Okay.
Since we're on the topic, what? I know we've talked about, you know, clothing, things like that. I didn't even notice that, but there's like a nice zipper detail on this.
Yeah, man.
Hoodie right there.
Yeah, this is for when you eat too much barbecue and like you gotta expand a little bit.
Yeah. So I keep my zippers open all the time in that case. You know, we're always in this culture. I've been in this culture, probably not as long as you, but since I was younger.
Okay.
When I was in university, nobody was in the culture.
Uh-huh.
There was like this one dude I talked to that wore Obey.
Yeah.
And we would talk and we would keep it a little quiet because no one else around us knew what we were talking about.
Right.
So now it's so big. What is your thoughts that it's so hard to get, like the things that you want sometimes it's so hard to get that you have to pay resale?
Right. you just have, I mean, like, whatever, it's supply and demand, you know? So, like, if you want something really bad and you can't find any means of getting it, maybe you have, like, a job or a family and you can't sleep outside a store for, like, 3 days, you know, you got to be a functioning adult, you'll be willing to pay a little bit extra. You know, to me, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Like, I see nothing wrong with resale because basically somebody went through the effort of getting that, whether they waited online or they camped out or they called a connect. They were able to pull a plug and get that. And now you want it from that person. You have to pay a service fee for that, right? There was effort gained from doing that. You got to pay for that effort, you know? So to me, it's the most normal thing in the world.
I think my thoughts are exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
I don't find anything wrong with it. It is supply and demand, and, you know, people putting in their effort, their time, their money. If you're buying online, if you're an online whiz, you know, putting in money to buy those bots, whatever, all that stuff. And figuring out how it works.
Right,
and all those
even though
kind of
like me and bot makers have a love-hate relationship because they decimate me every time I do a release, but that takes effort to code that shit. And like, you know, Shopify and myself, we always try to stop that stuff, and then they got to stay up another night and like rewrite the code so that they can beat that. That takes effort. So if you want to pay that kid like $100 or whatever to make sure that you get a pair, I get it. You know, my job is to not fight reselling and to fight bot makers. My job is to put out the product that continue to drive the demand. That's my job as a designer, you know. The thing that I reminisce on is I remember back in the day when Jordan was just coming out and people were like really fighting other people in the streets to get a pair of Jordans and stuff. There was like this classic cover of like Sports Illustrated that sort of had like your sneakers or your life, you know. It was like the first time, and people were blaming Jordan. And he's like, yo, it's not my job to police your store or to like make sure your kid is safe. It's my job to create great product that works on a basketball court. It's your job to figure out how to not kill people over it. You know what I mean? So like, I kind of felt the same way. Like, it's not my job to degrade my product and my design so that nobody wants it. That's not the solution. The solution is protect your children.
Yeah, absolutely. There's millions of ways to avoid that, right? If we were just a little more creative. Like raffles, one of the easiest ways to avoid any sort of harm from
Problem is that there's insider trading and there's collusion, right? So you do a raffle. It just comes down to this. If a store is getting like 25 pairs of shoes as their inventory because it's limited edition, and the store has 20 employees, I mean, just do the math. Like, there's only going to be 5 available for the raffle. You know what I mean? It's just the way that things work. Now, is there something wrong with that? So you're saying if you worked for a store that has a tier 0 account, an employee of the store shouldn't get that shoe? Why not? He's a human being. He wants shoes. He's working in that store because he's into shoes.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, there should. Like, if anything, the store should get, instead of 25, it should get 50, knowing that 20 are just going to go to the employees already. If anything, it's like, you know, maybe Nike should allocate more shoes out there, knowing that it's going to go out there. But Nike also wants to keep these things very like tight knit and not. There's also a trade-off where like sometimes you see product that was supposed to be hot and hype that's on markdown. It's not because they made too many. So oftentimes I don't think the brands are actually trying to deliberately suffocate product. I think they're trying to not make it so that it's like at your factory outlet, you know, on markdown. Yeah, and you can't really predict that in advance. Like I mentioned before, like a lot of shoes are developed like over a year in advance, and you have to place the orders a year in advance. Right. So how do you look into a magic bottle and say like, oh yeah, we're gonna sell 23,800 pairs of these things and just nail it on the dot? Like, you're not gonna know. Yeah, you're not gonna know. So like, you're just gonna be like, all right, maybe let's hedge our bets and go 10,000. You know, like it's a guessing game.
It absolutely is. It is a guessing game. Like resell you don't know the demand a year from now. You know, there was like a shoe, the Puma Thunder Spectra, the sleeper. All these stores, they ordered maybe 7, 12 pairs of them, and they sold out immediately when they first came out because everyone wanted them.
Yeah. And is there a cause? Do you know why? Was there a reason? They just look good on foot, right?
They just look good on foot.
Yeah.
I think that was also when the dad shoe was trending. Like the 700s were coming out. Triple S.
But it's not like it's not like some celebrity was like, I endorse these. It was a sleeper hit, and it's so rare that those sleepers happen nowadays. You know, the whole hype game and machine is so constructed, and like, you know, we're gonna have this guy wear it at this concert and then it's gonna blow out, you know. So like it's so like just fabricated that it's really rare that a shoe gets sold, doesn't do well, and then it sells because like the people just adapted it, and then all the stores are clamoring like, give me the rest of the stock that you have, you know.
That's crazy. Onto your sneakers. You obviously start off with the OG Pigeon Dunk, which is the NYC ones. Yeah. Now you have the Pandas on, which I was going to talk to you about that. So what is it that made you come back and want to create more Pigeon Dunks, let's say?
I mean, why not do more shoes with Nike? You know, like I want to do as many as I can.
Right.
It just really depends on like everyone's timelines and schedules and everything like that.
Yeah.
And actually, for those who know, the first shoe that I designed was not the OG Pigeon Dunk. There was actually other shoes before that. So there was the navigation pack. If you look back in your Google archives, look up the navigation pack, the Rift Laser, the Cortez Laser, Nike Considered, the Nike Nordic pack. These are all shoes that I designed before the OG Pigeon. Yeah.
Right. The first shoe that put you on the larger map.
And many would say not only the shoe that put me on the map, but it's the shoe that put sneaker culture on the map.
Right.
That's why that shoe has so much like history, you know? Yeah.
So does that still affect you to this day, or you kind of like?
It never affected me.
Oh yeah.
Quite honestly, like, because you know why? Because when it first happened, I didn't know how historic it was going to be because it was just happening right there, right? And then a couple weeks go by, a couple months go by, people still talk about it. It's like, oh, that's interesting. People are still talking about it. A couple of years go by, people are still talking about it. But I always think that like, oh, there's going to be a time where like people just stop talking about this. I mean, come on, you know, can't go on forever. Then like 10 years go by, and then I think Soul Collector hit me up at the 10-year anniversary, and they're like, yo, we want to make a documentary about the 10-year anniversary of the Pigeon Dunk, you know? And so they made this amazing piece where they went back and they interviewed like the original kids who waited online, the original cops who were arresting kids. They interviewed like the woman who broke the news on the New York Post. Like it was like a whole Dateline NBC kind of thing that they did. And that reinvigorated the entire thing for a whole new generation. Then there was the documentary Just for Kicks. There was another documentary called Sneakerheads that came out, made by my friend David Friendly. So like these moments are just re-educating a whole new generation. So now it's almost become like mythological, you know, like it's become this holy grail of a thing. And I think if you look back at sneaker culture, there aren't that many of those things that have stood the test of time, like for years and years and years, you know what I mean? Like even, I remember, I think it was also Soul Collector. They did a sort of like NC2A bracket style tournament of the greatest shoes of all time. And it was, you know, 50 shoes, and they just and by fan voting, they were voting ahead who were going to be the winners. And it, like the Pigeon Dunk was there and it kept winning, and I was like, wow, I think it'll get to like the Sweet 16, and then like the final 8, and then the final 4. It was like in the final 4, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. The final 4 was like, I think it was white Air Force 1, Air Jordan 11, Air Jordan 1, and Pigeon Dunk. Were in the top 4 of all time. And I was like I get goosebumps talking about it now. I was like, I can't believe it's there. Then it made it past the final 4 into the finals, right? So it's Pigeon Dunk versus Air Jordan. It was either 11 or 3. I can't remember which one it was.
I can imagine it would be 11 at the time.
I think it was 11. Yes. So it was Pigeon Dunk versus Air Jordan 11, and all day I was refreshing on the voting count. Air Jordan wins 51-49.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it came down to the wire. It was sick, but it was just again just added testament to like
they
what that
should
shoe.
have done like motions once.
Right.
Into the middle.
Yeah. Seriously, it was like they should have made it a draw.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's dope, and it's great. It's an honor to be part of that history. But you know, I mentioned this before, like. I didn't just say like, yeah, I did the Pigeon Dunk and then just like retire. You know, like I kept innovating, kept doing stuff, had the clothing line, Reed Space, all the stuff, and then came back years later with the What the Dunk, which had all the 25 greatest dunks, and the Pigeon was part of that. Then a couple of years after that, the Black Pigeon, and then a couple of years after that, the Panda Pigeon. So it's great to have that sort of continuing legacy, you know.
So I know in a lot of your interviews in the past, you've always, you know, mentioned Japan, and like, where does that all come from? Because I don't know where the root of that is, but you're always giving an ode to Japan or Tokyo for design. And being someone who's been to Japan and Tokyo twice in the last year.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love Japan. So I want to know where that interest and passion comes from for you.
It kind of came to me because when I first started my brand in 1997, I was selling to about 2 or 3 shops in New York City only, right? Just me literally hand delivering shirts to these shops. And my first international order was a Japanese guy that placed an order. So literally I was in New York City, and then the next day I was in Tokyo, like as a brand. And most people who have brands spend literally years trying to get to Japan. Like they'll go from New York to like Philly, Chicago, LA, you know, and then like Europe, and then they'll hit Japan, you know, because there's a huge language barrier gap and like time zone and customs gaps. Like it's really hard to penetrate. Yeah, Asia, you know. So I was lucky to just be in Japan on like a given day. And so from there, I got to really experience what that culture meant. And if you've ever been there, you'll know that they have such great respect for creatives, artists, subcultures. You know, they really herald the subculture. And that's what I really think is dope about them. Like, I'll tell you the difference between like Japan and like, let's say Europe. Like if I had a small streetwear brand, which I did at the time, and if Japan wanted to buy, I'd be like, hey, Japanese guy, like I can't finance the production to make your order. They'd be like, oh, well, I'll give you half of the money up front, and then when the order's done, I'll pay you the rest right away, right? In Europe, they'd be like, I'm gonna pay, you have to make it yourself. After you ship it to me, I have 30 days to then pay you, and I'll probably be later than 30 days. So here you are as a designer, outlaying money and waiting for people to pay, whereas the Japanese were like, we'll support you, you know? And that's not just one guy that I was lucky with. Like a lot of Japanese businesses operate that way.
Their culture there,
they support it, you know, and it's dope. And the other thing that they were able to do is like really dissect a subculture and elevate it with what they offer to the table, you know what I mean? So like if you look at like what they do with like US military culture or motorcycle culture or skateboard culture, they take that history, they educate themselves, they really dissect it, and then they put it on steroids, and it's just like so much doper than how even the originators could have done it. That's what Japan is really great. And then you know, the culture is great, the food's great, the mannerisms are awesome. Like it's like the best. If you're a creative and you didn't go to Japan, like you're missing half the playbook.
Easily half the playbook. Was there any sort of influence from all of those, like from Japan or anything regional into this collection?
All of it. It's a stew, you know what I mean? Like whenever I design something, I sort of take the influence of everything that I've seen, and I try to travel a lot and just meet different people all over the world to try to increase my sponge, if you will, you know, of absorption of ideas. So this collection that we did for MGD in the Design Lab in Canada, all of that aesthetic is built into it, you know what I mean? Even like the tagline, like one of none, and the exclusivity thing, these are all things I learned from traveling, being not only a designer but also a consumer. Like I like to shop and actually be a customer when I go out into like different parts of the world, so that I could experience the whole, you know, how things are just bought and sold out in other countries, you know what I mean? But yeah, all the design touches I think like are just all inherent in stuff that I do. Like you could see a lot of influence in these little things that we've done, like the side zip and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, it's just I can't say like, oh, this came from Japan or this came from Germany. It's literally like making soup. And you're just putting all these ingredients in, and then boom, here's like what I have made for you.
Yeah, so it's sort of like you take all your experiences, and then so what I realized, I guess you can't get the big ideas until you have all these experiences, and it makes your big ideas even bigger.
Exactly. You need to sweat the small stuff. You need to go out there and absorb little things everywhere. And then that's what allows you to make the big idea. But it's really, I can't say it's impossible, but I'm gonna say it's real hard to make a big idea when you're just working with a blank piece of paper, you know? Yeah. If you're ever an artist and you like to sketch stuff and like play around, like if I give you a blank piece of paper and I'm like, here's a pen and a blank piece of paper, make me a masterpiece. No trial and error, just make me a masterpiece. It's like, no, I need to fuck up, I need to scratch it out, I need different paper, I need like to make a mess. And out of that mess comes the masterpiece. You know what I mean? So that's how it works in life as well.
I had a question to close it up, but I can't remember it right now.
Okay.
What is the advice that you have for, say, someone who's, let's say they're trying to build a following or create a brand, design or business-wise? What's your advice?
Okay. My advice to you would be stay true to yourself and don't listen to the haters. Don't worry about it not going viral or popping off on Instagram. I know it's hard, because everyone wants you to put it out there and like get mad likes and get retweets and get lots of comments and quote unquote engagement, you know, but fuck all that shit. Like just do your thing, put it out there, and if you believe in it 100%, just stay true to it and they will flock to you, they will come to you. But I guarantee you it's not going to be overnight viral, and you're going to have to work through those tough times of people not noticing, people not clicking, maybe even getting a hater that's talking shit about you in the comments on your own feed. You know, I don't even delete those things. I love having the haters up there because to me that fuels my energy and it gives me like sort of inspiration to just make better product, you know. But try to silence all the haters and silence all the critics and just try to stay focused and do you. That would be my advice.
Awesome. There you go. You know what? I think we could just close it off on that. That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Chef
thank you
Staple.
too. Yeah.
Super well spoken.
Yep. Peace.
Super knowledgeable.
Thanks,
I
man.
appreciate it, man.
All right, later.
Thank you. All right, guys, your boy is done with the discussion panel from earlier. The Jeff Staple, I had a little bit of a couple hiccups in between. got my key locked in the car. It's an expensive issue. What else?
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's about it, really. I locked my P in the car before. Whatever. We don't have to talk about it. But now I'm here with P, and now we're going to the second event, which is
Be back in the 6th Genuine Miller Draft. So they're hosting an event for the Raptors Game 6 at Oracle. I'm gonna show you what's good.
some other influencers and other just photographers, videographers, and other media people and people that are into all the streetwear stuff.
Except for me.
Wow.
I'm kidding. Hey, I'm nobody.
Wow. She's somebody. All right, guys. See you soon. So it's been a few days after the event and I got this gigantic package in the mail, this big black box. As you can see, the important details, June 20th, 2019 and Miller Genuine Draft are all on the outside of the box already. The entire meetup with Jeff was about a clothing line that he developed alongside Miller Design Lab, a design initiative launched by MGD, this first collection being known as the One of None collection. How do you open this thing, you ask? Well, it's simple. We've got a slide out mechanism right here and that reveals 2 MGD bottles right there. I don't drink, so my friends are getting free beer. We've got a card with some very kind words to go with the One of None motif, and as you can see right here, there's a gold Pigeon bottle opener, and I am definitely keeping this. It's got the One of None MGD Design Lab etched into it, and will very likely be the least used bottle opener in history. Slide this little contraption out and you got, looks like an MGD X Jeff Staple bandana. This is actually part of the collection and not just a promo piece. It's got a very nice gold leaf silk screen pattern running across it and MGD Design Lab X Jeff Staple cross branding with the Miller M and Staple Pigeon cross branded logo. Fun fact, it actually took him 7 attempts to design this logo guide. The bandana actually has a very nice quality feel to it, better than most bandanas I've owned. There's a second item in here and it turns out it's the crew neck from the collection. It's got these nice details like the tag on the bottom left corner. I love the gold stitch detail around the patch and the black YKK zippers to unzip the pockets on the crew neck. One of my biggest gripes with crew necks usually is that they have no pockets, so the fact that this has one is something I appreciate big time. The quality on this thing is top notch too. It's got a nice thickness to it, yet it's super soft. You can even feel the softness in the pockets. I love it. Finally, my favorite detail on the crew neck is this circle on the sleeve made with text referring to the collection. The entire collection is available for you to purchase exclusively on Exclusity's website. I'll leave the link down in the description. Some pieces have more details and graphics and art on them as well. If you're into that, look over the understated look of this piece, so definitely check it out. Shout out to the icon Jeff Staple and MGD for having me for the event. What did you guys think about the collection? Let me know in the comments. Catch you later. Picsoleated is out.